more data continues to come out showing how badly Trump's economy is for the vast majority of Americans. According to a recent study by VantageScore, Americans are increasingly defaulting on their car loans. Uh-oh. In fact, delinquencies have surged by 50% in the last 15 years. This is not great. And car loans have actually gone from one of the more safe consumer credit products to now one of the riskiest. Wow. Especially among subprime borrowers, typically lower income households with poor credit. Among them, delinquency has reached a record high. In August, the share of subprime auto loans where borrowers had missed payments for 60 days or more stood at 6.43%. According to Fitch Ratings, last year, 1.73 million cars were repossessed. That's huge. That is the highest number since 2009. What happened? What happened after 2000 or around 2009? What happened there? 2008. There was something. Oh, right, the recession. Yeah. It's according to Cox Automotive. So this is bad. This is bad. This is so bad that even Wall Street is like, I think it's time to get a little bit concerned here. You see, it turns out that auto loans, like a lot of mortgages, are pooled into asset-backed securities. That's an investment that is similar to bonds, which are then sold to financial institutions. And so, yeah, for Wall Street, the amount of repossessions and people that are not able to pay, not a good thing for them. They're not a good thing for them at all. In fact, Wall Street is already reeling from the twin collapses of a subprime auto lender called Tricolor and a car part supplier called First Brands. That actually happened in September. Okay. In fact, Jamie Dimon, who's head of JP Morgan, said on Tuesday, quote, "When you see one cockroach, there's probably more." Days later, after that, John Waldron, president of Goldman Sachs, warned that the recent collapses might indicate that consumers in the lower end of the economy are suffering, posing a further threat to U.S. lenders. Yes, but let's just worry about the lenders and not worry about the people who are actually suffering. That's Wall Street for you. In fact, he said, there's been a lot of lending in there, and if there's weakness in consumer capabilities, then we're going to have a problem. It doesn't necessarily mean recession, but we can definitely start to see some negative effects in credit. We probably will have some default, and it's not going to be pretty. No kidding. Especially in a country that really doesn't have a robust public transportation, where we're all pretty reliant on cars because there is no investment in public transportation. I mean, you look in other countries, they've got trains, they've got buses, all that stuff, and here we really don't. Not that well, anyway. We have not really invested in any of that public infrastructure like that. Now, that said, Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's, says high levels of auto loan delinquencies are a clear sign of stress among lower and middle income households. Yeah, no kidding. That should set off alarm bells, particularly considering unemployment is still relatively low at 4.3%. Look, the unemployment rate doesn't really show reflect a full picture of employment, right? Because a lot of times that unemployment rate does not count people who have just given up looking because it's so bad out there. Okay, but anyway, okay. So let's take that 4.3%. Okay, and so there's still a lot of people who are employed. Then what's the problem? Well, jobs are not paying people enough to keep up with massively rising prices. That's it. That's the reality. Americans cannot afford to buy cars. They can't afford to buy houses. They can't afford to pay the rent. They can't afford to buy food. I mean, that's a huge problem. Okay, a lot of problems here. Now, since 2019, the average price of a new car, by the way, has surged by about 35%. It's now over $50,000 this year, just for a normal car. The average monthly payment on a typical loan for a new car is about $761, according to Jessica Caldwell, head of insights at Edmunds. For a used car, $570. That's insane. Let me tell you what. And I'm not trying to rub this in on anybody, but I had actually leased a car back in 2018. Okay. I paid about $355 a month. A couple years afterwards, I decided I'm just going to buy it, so I'm going to go and finance it, go to the bank and get a loan and whatnot. And my monthly payments now are around $256. I still owe about 10 grand on it. Okay. But it's only got 20,000 miles. So, hey, it's one of the perks from, working from home. I'm fortunate enough to where I can do that. So I don't have to drive everywhere. Very, very fortunate, right? So I'm also fortunate that, I got my home and my car before the prices went completely insane. Okay, that's it. If I wanted a new car right now, I could not afford it. If I wanted an apartment, I could not afford it. Things are bad out there, and I haven't seen it worse since 2008, which again, what happened in 2008? Oh, right. Banks crashed the economy. That's what happened. Look, again, things are bad, and they're not getting any better. They're going to get worse. Look, according to the American Consumer Credit Counseling, which helps people manage debt, the number of people who need their help has just boomed. Across the entirety of 2019, the nonprofit took calls from about 33,000 people struggling with debt. But this year, so far, they said that we're at 53,900 and the year is not even over. That is according to the ACCC's Kenneth Mohammed. In 5 years, the ACCC's client average debt load has surged by 60% to hit around $30,000. And it ain't low-income people who are irresponsible, as some people would say, that are driving that. No, it's actually what's left of the middle class, because there ain't much left. Okay? Normally, the ACCC's average client had an annual income of about $50,000. But that has gone up to about $75,000 over the past year. The number of clients who have 4-year college degrees has doubled since 2024. He adds that people are now using their credit cards to afford basic living expenses. Yes, you are having to finance food. Okay? How completely messed up an economy has to be for someone to have to finance their groceries with a credit card. And what's Donald Trump doing about it? What are the Republicans doing about it? Nothing. Worse than nothing. They gave tax cuts to the rich. They got theirs. Fuck you. That's what they say to the average American. All right? That's what they're doing. Now, Michael Lavin, an auto financier of Consumer Portfolio Services last month, said that the customer is, quote, constrained and under pressure. No kidding. Bill Nash, chief executive of CarMax, had told investors on an earnings call in September that the consumer has been distressed for a little while. I think there's some angst. No kidding. Zandy of Moody's, however, says, quote, you're seeing all of this stress when everyone has got a job. So what happens if people start losing their jobs? The answer is, we're fucked. Okay? And what do you mean when people start losing their jobs? People already have lost their jobs. Thousands of federal employees have been doged. These are white-collar folks. They have been fired, laid off, whatever. Reductions in force. Okay? And Trump's trying to fire more. And then you've got the shutdown, where many have been furloughed. And again, Trump's trying to fire many of them. And we don't know how long the shutdown's going to last either. Okay. Look, I hate to say it, but I think we are on track for a recession. I'm not an economist. Okay. So, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt here. All right. But it just seems like to me, yeah, things are not going well. At the top, our economy is way too top heavy right now. And you know what happens when things are too top heavy? They fall over. Okay. Everything except for the stock market, which is still doing great somehow, because they're completely divorced from reality. Okay. But everything but them, not doing so hot. In the real world, people are hurting. And now it's only going to continue to get worse. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.